I'd like to start by thanking my future NC for inviting me here to talk to you all about accessing higher paying employment opportunities in the North Central region of North Carolina. First, I need to put a plug in for the folks who sign my paycheck. I'm here representing the Labor and Economic Analysis Division of the North Carolina Department of Commerce, known as LEAD for short. Here at LEAD, we produce economic data, we conduct research to derive actionable insights from these data, and we develop informational products and deliver presentations, like this one, that help our customers understand what these insights mean for the work they do day in and day out. Now, with that out of the way, let's start by talking about some economic data. The North Central region of North Carolina is a high growth regional economy. Job growth in our region has outpaced the statewide average over the past 4 years and has vastly exceeded the nationwide average. Clearly, our region represents an economic success story. But it's important to note that this growth has not reached every corner of our region. Some counties are adding jobs faster than others. The most rapidly growing counties have been Johnston and Chatham counties on the rapidly growing outskirts of the Raleigh-Durham area. Meanwhile, nearly half the counties in our region have yet to recover to their pre-pandemic employment levels, with job growth being slowest in outlying areas like Warren and Edgecombe counties. This means that we need to work together to ensure that everyone in our area is adequately connected to the employment opportunities in our booming region. And when you look overall at our region, there clearly is an abundance of job opportunities. We're currently in a tight labor market with a lot of job openings out there, but relatively few job seekers. There are only around 1.1 job seekers per job opening in our state, representing one of the tightest labor markets in decades. In our region, the labor market situation is even tighter than it is statewide, with only 0.9 job seekers per job opening. What does that mean? It means it's more challenging for employers to fill open positions, since there are relatively few job seekers out there relative to the number of job openings that we have. On the other hand, if you're a job seeker, this means more opportunity because there are relatively few other applicants competing with you for any given job. Now that's the current situation. What does the future hold for our region? Well, first off, we're likely to see a growing amount of business investment. Already in just the past 2 years, we've seen massive job announcements from companies like Wolfspeed, VinFast, Novo Nordisk, Eli Lilly, and many more. So this means more job openings coming down the line. In the meantime, we're also likely to see slowing population growth. Annual population growth in our region has slowed from 3.2% in 2007 to only 1.6% in 2022, and is projected to slow further in the decade to come. And the population that we do have is getting older and approaching retirement age. The share of our population age 65 and above increased from 10% in 2007 to 15% in 2022, and is expected to rise to 18% by 2030. So we're going to have growing demand for talent, but slower growth in our labor force based on demographic projections. Again, this is going to be a challenge for employers, but will yield an abundance of opportunities for job seekers. Now, these job opportunities are likely to span the entire educational spectrum. We're going to need workers at all education levels, from the least educated all the way up to the most educated. But that said, we know that the highest paying jobs often require higher levels of educational attainment. Indeed, data from the Census Bureau indicates that higher educated people in North Carolina tend to earn more money, with those with a bachelor's degree or above earning around twice as much as those with only a high school education. In our region, whether you're looking specifically at the Raleigh-Durham area or more toward the Rocky Mount Wilson area, the five highest paying high growth jobs, or what our office likes to call five-star jobs, have one thing in common. They require higher education. Although the top paying job opportunities do differ somewhat based on what local area you're in, overall, they tend to require at least a bachelor's degree. So clearly, higher education is one potential pathway to higher earnings. But we're not just talking about any kind of higher education. We need to help students obtain the education and develop the skills that are most valued by employers. In other words, we need to improve the alignment between higher education and labor market demand. So here's an example that illustrates what we mean when we talk about labor market alignment. The health science field, think doctors, nurses, medical technicians, represents 25% of all job openings in our region requiring post-secondary education. We all know that the healthcare sector has been desperate for workers in recent years, and we know that the situation is expected to get worse in coming years as our population gets older and requires more healthcare services, and as more people gain access to healthcare through Medicaid expansion. But even though health science represents 25% of job openings, only 11% of the post-secondary credentials conferred in our region are in the health science field. So clearly, we have some more work to do to make sure that the priorities of our higher education system are aligned with the priorities of the labor market. Now, in conclusion, let's talk about what this all means for you. For employers, in a fast-growing economy with a slow-growing labor force, labor shortages are likely to become a recurring issue in the long term. Every employer needs to improve their recruitment and retention practices to remain competitive in what is likely to be a years-long war for talent. That's tough for employers, but it also means a lot of opportunity for students and for job seekers. However, among all the opportunities out there, the highest paying opportunities tend to require post-secondary education. So if students are interested in accessing high-paying jobs, I'd certainly suggest that they focus on upgrading their skill set with a particular emphasis on those skills and majors that are most in demand in the labor market. But of course, it's not just students. Educators also need to mind the labor market. As I mentioned earlier, our region's higher education system is under-concentrated in the health science field. So we need to do more to improve the alignment between the supply of graduates coming out of our higher education system and employer demands to ensure that the priorities of the higher education system match the priorities of the labor market. Finally, for our regional leaders and policymakers, if you're going to be a regional leader, you got to think like a region, right? Our region has a rapidly growing economy, but some parts of our region are adding jobs at a faster pace than others. We need to make sure that we can connect all the people of our region with these higher paying job opportunities. Now, one potential approach might be to improve transportation and broadband infrastructure to improve the linkages between where the jobs are and where the talent resides. Now, before I go, I did want to make sure that folks were aware of nccareers.org. That's our division's career information portal. Lots of great information out there, as well as resources for students and job seekers. The lead analytics site at analytics.nccommerce.com also has a bunch of data and information that you might find interesting, including regional dashboards that deliver economic data for whatever region you're interested in. Finally, I'd also encourage you to follow our work on the Lead Feed blog, to follow us on LinkedIn or on Twitter, and make sure to subscribe to our bi-monthly series of newsletters. With that, I want to thank you for your time, and please feel free to reach out to me or my team if there's any way we can be of further assistance.